Hey, Acceptance Squad, this is Alex from Alex's Autism Acceptance Channel, and employers can do better when it comes to interviewing autistic candidates. Let's talk about that. Making autism content Monday and Thursday. No, I wouldn't have it any other way. Making education inspiration for all. If you ever have a question or concern, just give me a call, 'cause I'll be there for you. You'll be like, oh thank God, I'll be there for you. Part of the Acceptance Squad, I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. This article is from Randstad Canada, and I do appreciate they're doing this in Canada. However, I do hope they are doing this in the United States as well, where I'm from, as well as many other countries in the world, because every single country has individuals with autism. So it's important to get that worldwide. Anyways, Randstad Canada says, people on the autism spectrum tend to struggle with social skills. This makes it particularly challenging for them to succeed in job interviews, which rely heavily on reading social cues and following a particular set of unspoken rules about how to act. Job interviews are often nerve-wracking for the average person, so imagine how much more difficult they would be if you weren't able to easily read social cues. While practice in the right condition can make it easier for people with ASD to learn how to perform well in a job interview, it is often an ongoing struggle. Most of the time it is lifelong. Some of the challenges people with ASD may face during job interviews include understanding social cues, body language, appropriate eye contact, judging amount of information to provide when asked a question, using the right tone of voice and level of formality, and thinking in abstract or hypothetical situations, such as what-if questions. As an employer, there are lots of ways you can tweak your job interviews to support a range of neurodiverse people, including people on the spectrum. When you make these changes to your interview process, you make it more accessible for everyone. You don't need to wait for a person who has ASD to walk into an interview to implement any of these changes. Taking steps now positions your company as an employer and as an employer who cares about their employees and supporting diversity in all its forms. I think this is an important point because in the College of Education and the school that I go to, they preach about supporting diversity, but in reality, when it comes to neurodiversity, they don't really practice what they preach. And if you do implement these strategies, if a business does implement these strategies for an interview, then that is practicing what they preach, and that's very good. Sometimes it can be difficult to know when it's safe to bring up ASD without judgment from an employer. Signal to candidates that you're open to making an accommodation if they have a disability or need support during a job interview. One way to do this is to ask if they need any special accommodations for a disability when booking the interview. So before the interviewee even comes in, give them that option. That's good. But remember that candidates do not have to disclose their condition if they do not feel comfortable. The best thing you can do is to make sure your interview process is accessible to every candidate who walks through your door, whether they disclose a disability or not. People with ASD thrive when they are given information. They like knowing what to expect so they can plan ahead. Providing written or visual instructions on aspects of the interview, such as how to reach your workplace, what to do when they arrive, a detailed timetable, the names and roles of people they will be meeting, and even a list of questions you plan to ask can help neurodiverse candidates prepare and feel more at ease. I think this is important because time to plan ahead is essential for an autistic, and the more that we have time to prepare and the more we know what to expect, the better results our interview is going to be. The next thing an interviewer can do is offer a quiet area for candidates to wait before the interview. Simply having a quiet waiting area for the candidates to wait in can help people on the spectrum feel more at ease. Candidates with ASD are often sensitive to noise and their surroundings. A bustling waiting room can be distracting or make them uncomfortable, which is not going to put them in the right mindset to ace an interview. If you don't have an appropriate waiting area, allowing candidates to wait in the quiet interview room until their interviewer shows up is a safe workaround. I like it. So definitely getting that quiet place to focus and prepare. The other thing is let candidates know when to move on if they are talking too much. People on the autism spectrum often struggle with knowing how much information to provide, and that holds true in an interview setting. They can be very passionate when talking about a subject that they care about and have a lot to say on it. This is me when it comes to mountains. It is often helpful to let them know when to move on if they are going into too much detail. It can be as simple as saying, "Thank you, you've told me enough about that. Let's talk about X next." I like it. Finally, for this section, there's be very literal when asking questions. People with ASD tend to be extremely literal. Yes, they do. I cannot read between the lines like most people. So avoid idioms or phrases that can be unclear when you're asking questions in interviews. For instance, a candidate with ASD may hear the question, "How did you find your last job?" and tell you about how they physically got to work. Use straightforward, clear language, but do not talk down to candidates or be condescending, so no need to use small words or anything. People with ASD are typically very intelligent and capable of answering a direct question. Their brain just processes language differently. Going into the final section here, it says, provide opportunities to break, especially in long interviews. If the interview is going to be more than 30 minutes, offer candidates the option to take a break from answering questions. For some people with ASD, long periods of concentration and social interaction could be challenging. The main reason for this is because there's in most cases, a co-diagnosis with ADHD, so the focus time in autistics, including myself, is generally low. Allowing a bathroom break, a chance to grab a beverage, or even signaling at the beginning of the interview that the candidate can ask for a break whenever they need one can be helpful. I agree with that because it sort of gives the interviewee a sense of control, which they do like if you're sort of like forced to stay in there the entire time if you want the job, that can sort of feel like you're being trapped. I know I've experienced that personally. Allow candidates to bring and refer to written notes. Bringing written notes can help some people on the spectrum gather their thoughts and make sure they don't miss anything important that they wanted to talk about in the interview. This is very true. This happens a lot with my videos because there's a lot that I want to say that I just never get around to because I don't forget. And I never write my videos down, my video ideas down. So whenever I write notes, that's often helpful. Many people with ASD are highly visual and prefer written or visual mediums since they can struggle with verbal language and communication. Very true, no disagreements there. Actually, no disagreements at all for this whole article. Offer a work trial to see their skills in action. This is a good one. Let's read this. Some candidates with ASD struggle with articulating their skills and explaining how they can apply them to your workplace. One workaround for this is to offer a work trial in lieu of a more expansive interview and sort of getting that objective visualization of what they can do instead of just what they can say, right? This serves as the dual purposes of allowing you to see the candidate's skills in action and allowing the candidate to get a feel for your work environment and if it would suit their needs and preferences. I think this is the main one right here. Interesting that it's coming at the very end. Finally, allow a support person to accompany the candidate. This option can be a little more controversial. However, if a candidate discloses that they are on the autism spectrum, you may suggest that they bring someone they trust along to the interview for moral support. Typically, the support person should be available for emotional support and to gently guide the candidate if they are unsure. They should not be answering questions on the behalf of the candidate or driving the interview. So I don't know how I feel about this one, to be honest. But I think their heart is certainly in the right place based on what I've seen for this article. So I do believe that there is some science, if you will, to support that this could be a good idea. But I don't have any personal opinion on that. The article ends by saying, making your hiring and interview process more accessible is a journey. Yes, you're not going to fix it overnight. It often takes many years of trial and error, and that is okay. You just got to keep working at it, right? If you want to keep learning about the ways to make your recruitment funnel more accessible for a wide variety of marginalized groups, check out more of diversity and inclusion content. And I'm going to post this article in the description and the comments. If I forget to do so, please let me know. But I got you guys. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed, learned something new. If you are an employer watching this, I hope you took a lot away from this. And I do hope that you are planning to implement these strategies in the future, because with over 80% of autistic adults unemployed, something has to change. And I don't know what that is, and employers watching, you have a better idea than I do. So it's important to make that happen to the best of your ability. But regardless, I hope you all have a great time. And yeah, I'm going to go see you on Monday. Have a good one.